just to set the tone. And as I'm setting the tone, we will have our panelists begin to start to fold out onto the stage as well. So in 2016, the Nielsen report stated that the Black buying power has reached a tipping point. But how will the Black America leverage it to create wealth? Well, in 1990, Black buying power was $320 billion. Black buying power in 2016 hovered somewhere around $1.2 trillion. Well, according to this study, by 2020, we would have reached $1.4 trillion. That's just from our community. So, we feel as if we don't have wealth. However, we do. It's just a matter of where is it going? And this money is going outside of the Black community. Well, the NAACP reported the following. Currently, $1, and I mentioned this last time, whoever was there, currently $1 circulates in the Asian communities for a month. In the Jewish community, approximately 20 days. In the white communities, 17 days. So how long do you think this dollar circulates in the Black community? 6 hours. So again, where are we spending our money? They say food, beverages, fragrance, personal health and beauty products, family planning, household and cleaning products. And because of this, we need to be owning some things in these areas. That's right. Here's one example, shouldn't come as a surprise, but Black women are spending a lot of their dollars on what? Hair. But yet we own not much. So Black women are spending, in particular, an estimated $7.5 billion annually on beauty products, shelling out 80% more on cosmetics than twice as much as skincare than non-Blacks. So 5 industries that Black people should dominate, meaning own something: beauty and personal care, entertainment and TV, technology, innovation and digital, quick service restaurants, leisure, travel, and tourism. So how many of you are ready to step up to the plate and own something? Well, we're going to call on out. We set the stage to give you a perspective of how far we need to go, but the hope that is there for us to take advantage of keeping this wealth within the community.
Yes, and I'm Jade Harell, and I'm excited to be here. However, energy is not created or destroyed. And if we're talking about power, we need to generate the energy that exists in us. And what happens is, if you are 10 times excited, you will follow with the energy necessary to receive and help these powerful people deliver the information, the options, the plan, and the action that needs to happen. So wherever you are right now, I need you to dig deep and find 10 times more than what you have right now, all right?
One thing, I want to say something about Killer Mike real quick. One thing I like about Killer Mike is that he gives very simple solutions. And that's something that I've learned from his brother. Like, I watched him move $1 million to a Black bank by just telling people, you don't have to move all your money, just move $100. It was very simple, but it was practical. But what I want to say is, I personally think that it's the psychology of Black people that we must first deal with. When I do the God Box lecture series, people always wonder why I talk about finances last, and I talk about buying Black last. It's because if you really don't like being Black or a descendant of an African, no matter how much information these people give to you, it won't matter because you really don't like being Black.
My name is Michael Render. I'm one half of the group Run the Jewels, and I'm known as Killer Mike. And I'm very honored and happy to be here. And I'm here because I was asked by Dr. Anderson to be here. I'm not here to pick up a bag. I'm not here to actually condemn anyone that's paid to be here or anything. I just want to let you know I'm here because I love him for the 50 years of sacrifice that he's given on behalf of black people, and that goes to Bob Law, that goes to Akbar, and that goes to every single one in this room. I am here because I am responsible to be love in action. It's not enough to just love you if I'm not acting on that love. It's not enough to profess to be a Pan-African if I am not trying to connect Africans. It is not enough to simply say I'm black and I'm proud if I don't shop with black people and buy black products and seek out black services. So I'm here out of a moral obligation to the people in this audience and the people on this stage. That is what I do, that is what I will do, that is what I will die doing. I am here to make sure that in my time on this earth, Africans in this country and other countries are in a better situation, to make sure that the original people of earth are returned to the majesty and the regal and the grace that we deserve. I'm here to make sure black children are proud. I'm here to make sure black women are respected. I'm here to make sure black men are the heads and co-leaders of our community, because unlike a lot of other communities with their fights between matriarchy, patriarchy, feminism, and that, our community is ran by women. And I want to take some time to acknowledge what a wonderful job you guys have done educating our children, feeding, clothing, and sheltering us, and for making sure that we are men and felt like and feel like men. I don't feel like I get talked down to. I don't feel like I get handled bad. I don't care what people who behind internet memes and stuff say. I'm so proud to be a product of black women. I believe that whatever put us here was certainly a divine feminine force, and I am grateful to be here as a result of that. Thank you very much for having me, and I'm looking forward to learning from the people on this panel and Dr. Anderson tonight, things that we can take away and do tomorrow. Not promises and hopes, not spirituals and songs, but shit we can do tomorrow.
Why are we the permanent, make sure I got it right, because this is good. Why are we the permanent underclass? Why are we the permanent underclass? Who would like to go first? Go ahead, Cobb.
I'd like to go first on this and let everyone add to it. But we live in a capitalist country, number one. The nature of capitalism is greed. And you saw enough pictures on Wall Street about it. But one thing, that in a capitalist system, there has to be an underclass that those on the top can always step on and crush in order for them to make their billions of dollars. We happen to be in that position. We built America. Michelle Obama made the greatest statement. Barack couldn't make this statement when she stood on that stage at the Democratic National Convention and said not only to America, but to the world, I wake up every morning in a house built by slaves. So when she made that, it was a blow for consciousness, because many black people didn't realize that, and white people didn't know it and didn't want to know it. But she made that statement. So there's an underclass. We built it. We built this country. We picked their crops. We took care of their babies. An underclass so that they could be billionaires on the top of the heap. So an underclass they need in order to build that wealth. And we have to say we are tired of being the underclass so you could build your wealth, and we're going to make something different that speaks to the needs of black people in America and throughout the world. Thank you.
Of course, if anyone can teach you that you are inferior to them, then you're going to believe it, and wherever they want to put you, you're going to go. But in Claude Anderson's book, he talks about two paradigms, and one of those is horizontal aggregation. And this causes us to spread all the way out. So while we got folks that live in the city in St. Louis, we got a lot of black folks that now live in the county in St. Louis. So it's difficult for us to find an area where we can concentrate ourselves and then do what he calls vertically integrate, which is where we build our wealth. Because you know, wealth is a ladder, and we're talking about underclass, so we're at the bottom, right? And it's all these other races that are above us because they have a cultural foundation on which they've built their wealth and their success in their community. So without us having a community, not a neighborhood, because we all got houses on streets that we live in, that doesn't count as a community. But when we actually come together under a cultural identity that we all believe in and can identify with and has principles that we live by and we hold each other accountable by, that will stretch into our business practices, that will stretch into our school infrastructure, and it will allow us to build ourselves up. But until we do that, we will be and have been a permanent underclass.
This is a white supremacist society that has set out to suppress and systematically suppress and exploit human beings, black people in particular. There is a deliberate strategy that locks us in to an economic underclass status. The reason that we are a permanent underclass so far is because our response to white supremacy has been inaccurate. It has been inappropriate. So we do not do the things that are necessary to break free. We don't use our own resources, be they intellectual or capital, financial. See, we practice a theology that has been called the politics of respectability, where we set out to demonstrate to whites how worthy we are for their acceptance. That's why you all love Obama, because Obama is a Harvard graduate, articulate, stylish, pretty wife, pretty children, cool, smooth. He's an excellent ambassador for the race, convincing white people how polished and sophisticated and respectable we are capable of being.
So I want to jump in and pose something in addition to that. The issue that we face with being a permanent underclass, many would say that we created that ourselves.
Yeah. I want to listen to other people respond, but
I like listening to you.
All right, Mike, teed up number one.
That's not politically, historically correct. There is an agenda in this society to entrap and crush us. See, that's part of the mistake with the idea of we're keeping it real. You know how people used to say, the reason I do this, the reason I curse, and talk bad about women, because I'm keeping it real. But the question is, who created that reality? And so we have been tricked into keeping real a reality that was created for us by people who despise us. It was not our idea. See, it wasn't any time where the policymakers came to us and said, what do y'all want, Beverly Hills or Compton? And we said, we choose Compton. That wasn't your idea. What do y'all want, schools that work or dysfunctional schools? And so we got dysfunctional schools. That wasn't your idea. This reality was not created by you. However, what locks us into the permanent underclass status is in accepting someone else's reality, embracing it, and protecting it. So that's what I mean by our responses to oppression have been inappropriate. As we begin to change that, as we begin to move towards self-determination, as we begin to move in the as we begin to move in the direction that we have really just begun to move. Y'all don't really see it quite yet, but trend watchers and people who have been engaged in this struggle for years can see we're beginning to move, and that movement is going to take us out of that permanent underclass. See, as long as you keep celebrating how rich certain black individuals are, as opposed to understanding the need for us as a group to be prosperous.
Can we start by Xing out the word permanent?
I was about to say, Zach, go ahead. Thank you, man.
You go.
Right. Before you guys do it, listen, before I let you off the chain, okay? Here's the other piece we really need to get down to, okay? Some have said that it's hip hop's fault.
That's bullshit.
Some, okay. Don't shoot.
We got to start naming these people.
Yeah,
I need to know who they are so we can go see
Okay,
them.
but wait a minute.
Yeah, don't waste time talking about
Here you go. Okay, before you go, let's look at the imagery. You spoke about imagery before, right? What Barack projected, correct? When you look at when you look at the bulk of the wealth that's held and the lifestyle that's glorified, we're looking at athletes, we're looking at rappers, we're looking at entertainers. So
I don't like the word permanent. Because permanent means ain't nothing you can do about it. And that's a crock of bullshit. We live in a capitalist system. Two leaders under this system have mobilized the black dollar unlike anyone else. And they were successful in mobilizing the black dollar for the individual and the greater community. And I would like to, first of all, since we're talking about money, duly acknowledge the Honorable Marcus Garvey and the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. I don't care what you personally think of Elijah Muhammad. I don't care what you personally think of Marcus Garvey. They took broken people, they took pennies and dollars, and they built nations. They built the Black Star Line. It employed people. People say it failed, it was sabotaged, it went out of business. Most businesses that open are going to get failed, they're going to sabotage, they're going to go out of business. But the next business is supposed to take the blueprint of that and become more successful. So after the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, where were we? Marcus Garvey did what he did, then you get Elijah Muhammad off newspapers and selling fish, redeemed broken men, put families together, and for a second time showed black people what you can do with a dollar. So that permanent underclass shit is bullshit. You ain't never, when you were in the muck and the mire of slavery, you were the only people with the skills to pick cotton. You were the only people with the skills to build. You were the only people with the skills to cook and clean. And you told white people, we don't work on Sundays, and I can rent myself out on Sundays. I will rent myself out. I will give you part of that money. That will go toward my freedom. I will keep the rest. Harriet said, I freed 1,000 slaves. I could have freed 1,000 more had they known they were slaves. They didn't think they was dogs. They didn't think they was animals. What they understood was, I have negotiated a comfortable place for myself in the plantation system where poor whites who couldn't own a slave a lot of times had less power than a slave who had skill like blacksmiths, like blacksmithing, like carpentry work. So first of all, look in the mirror and stop seeing failure and see opportunity. Off the top. Off the top. You are not a permanent underclass. You are a current underclass because you have gotten away from what made you successful. Tulsa, Oklahoma was not the only black Wall Street. Every time I talk to one of you, oh my God, we done lost black Wall Street. What is we to do? You forget that Atlanta, Georgia still exists. You forget Birmingham, Alabama exists. Jackson, Mississippi exists. You forget Meridian. You forget all these other places where black working class and middle class people still are. Because you spend so much time commiserating on the past. Oh, we have been treated so badly, but you were more successful when you were segregated. You had your own store. So when you want to start talking about why, let's start talking about it like my doctor told me. Mike, you're fat because you eat too much, you don't move enough. Right? So Dr. Anderson gonna come out here and tell us the truth like that. You are an underclass currently in this capitalistic system because you don't take your individual wealth seriously. When's the last time you pulled your credit report? When's the last time you said I'm gonna buy a Toyota instead of a Mercedes? When is the last time if you said if I can afford a $200,000 house, I'm gonna buy a $100,000 house? When is the last time you made a purposeful effort to stack, to grind, to save, to become a tool with your money? Now, individually, if you become stronger, you get your credit together, you are obligated to teach the next brother or sister. You and that brother and sister teach the next brother and sister. And next, you can collectively share less rich. Like now, if I want to open a business, I can call David Banner. I got good credit, he got good credit. So instead of having to put 100,000 in, we talking about $50,000 a piece in. What are you doing individually, first of all, to be strong? Secondly, who are the circle of people that you're communicating with? Are you communicating with shoppers and buyers, or are you communicating with investors and visionaries? And I'm not talking about no big investment. I'm just talking about Negro, go back to the neighborhood you grew up in and buy the house your mama raised you in. I'm talking about very, very simple things. I'm talking about if you have to buy detergent and you know you run out every 2 weeks, instead of going to Walmart and buying Tide, go to Amazon and buy true detergent from 4 black Muslim men who hire black people and are trying to build a factory. Seek out black people to support. We went to one gas station in my neighborhood. Miss Barbara owned it, the black lady. My grandmama wouldn't go in an East Indian gas station to save her life. If her life was on saying that, well, I'm gonna die today, baby. You understand what I'm saying? So, there is no permanent underclass. The Vietnamese came here, permanent underclass. Within a few years, they own Vietnamese restaurants. If you go to Los Angeles right now, you can go to K-Town. That's short for Koreatown. Why are you ashamed to have a brown town? Why you act like you're scared to serve white people? White people love y'all food. Open up a restaurant, become savvy with your internet marketing, and sell to them. Why are you afraid of service-related jobs and businesses? Everybody can't own a club. Everybody simply can't own a club. But you can own a dry cleaners. You can own a maid service. You can own all these jobs we think we done got too good for because the government gave you some jobs. Then you be scared to say anything because the government is paying your ass to stay in check. So I'm going to simply say, I'm going to accept responsibility for my part of being an underclass because I spent money wrong. Because I didn't take time to take my finance seriously. Because I bought my children toys instead of teaching my children about wealth. I'm going to accept my own personal accountability because I can change that. When I be on that treadmill walking in the morning and I used to watch dumb shit like Oprah, no, baby. I watch the same shit the white boy next to me watching now, MSNBC, only on the stocks. You understand what I'm saying? I don't have nothing wrong with none of that entertainment stuff we like, but Oprah's never given me a stock tip. Ever, ever, ever. And I don't have any problem with my mother liking her, but I'm tired of celebrating one billionaire. I would like to celebrate a room full of millionaires. You understand what I'm saying? And that ain't downgrading, that ain't degrading. It's simply saying I accept my personal responsibility. Now, is capitalism set up to have somebody on the bottom? Absolutely. Is race in America, how classism hasn't been set up to keep you on the bottom? Absolutely. With that said, you guys are in a better position than blacks in the Caribbean. Yeah. You're in a better position than blacks in South America. You're in a better financial position than brothers and sisters in Africa. And I gotta give this brother credit out there. I'm gonna pass it on to David Banner. We can't talk about Africa if we don't talk about Akon. That brother took that rap money. That brother took that rap money straight to Africa. That brother partnered with Chinese people and is giving lights and collecting dollars. So let's start to congratulate what we're doing. Jamal Mashburn owns 82 restaurants, Chili's, Fridays. Let's start making sure that we start talking about the people who succeeded so our children will stop feeling like they defeated before we open our mouth. We are successful in spurts, but we can be successful as a collective once we take individual responsibility and accountability for our own economic dignity. Once we start to partner and pair up and start to dominate areas that we use weekly, you use the gas station every day, you get your hair done every week, you get your hair cut. Why are you buying products from people who don't look like you, who accuse you of shoplifting, who whoop your ass, and then they get dragged off the plane? You protesting for them, but they ain't protesting for you.
I'm just piggyback off of me, David Banner, and Killer Mike was on a panel together down in Atlanta. What was it, back in October, the National All-Black Convention. And those guys lit a fire in me as an educator. My goal is to raise more black scholars. Now, the brother asked about how we will not, or how can we not have the same discussion 50 years from now. I think it's from our children. Now, what kind of saddens me is, you know, as I look out in the crowd, it's all grown people. I mean, I think we need to, like, invest more in our kids and bring our children here. I mean, including myself. I mean, I'm a single parent. I'm raising a 3-year-old daughter and a 6-year-old son. So I just wrote a book released last week called Raising a Black Scholar, a curriculum about all these things we're talking about, pre-K through 12, to help our children understand the fight and struggle that we're against, the crack epidemic, black authors or black books with children or with characters so children can see themselves for self-esteem. I'm talking about suicide rates. Black boys have the highest suicide rates. You know, so all these different issues that need to be addressed that ties into the social engineering, that ties into mental health.
Real quick, as we transition here, I want to transition to David Banner, and we're going to start to take some questions from the audience, and all you guys will get an opportunity to interject here. Is as we look at the climate of imagery and mindset and self-esteem that's out here, it seems like the people in our class that are struggling the most are our young people. David, can you speak to why are our young people so angry?
Excuse me, no disrespect at all, because the grown-ups fucked up. Like, no clap, hold on a second, I may say something you don't agree with. Just wait, like Mike said, I don't like the Oprah Winfrey clap, because I don't want you to go into holy mode, I want you to keep your mind engaged. So listen, first of all, I want to speak to something first. When you were talking about the images of hip-hop, it's not the black men that they care about, it's the white folks' toys that they accrued. Because if you think about it, I was the same David Banner, that my first album, Mississippi the Album. It was the same album that I was going to sell on the corner. Literally, I sold about 1,000 CDs in my hometown. But as soon as they took me and the white folks shined my stuff up and stamped New York on it, they saw more value in me.
Right.
So the thing is, it isn't the rapper, because in most cases, the reason why we hate on the rappers who are from our towns, because subliminally we thinking, oh, that's the same dude who's across the street from me, he ain't no better than me. It's the psychology of it. And any of you all, most of you all have heard me speak, y'all heard about the central processing unit. Do y'all know about that? All right, for those of you all who don't know, I say it in all my lectures. The example of that is the human brain, or the central processing unit of a computer is based on the human brain, right? When Africans came over here, they didn't act like niggas. But they took everything, imagine them taking the electricity, the mathematics, the internet, everything from a central processing unit, and they uploaded a virus called nigga. Then the computer started malfunctioning. Would you blame the computer or the computer program?
Wow.
The fucking program. Black people haven't had any social, mental, or physical therapy. We are still going through mental and physical and spiritual fallout. Think about it. Every God complex in America is a white man or a white person. Superman, Spider-Man, Jesus, just about anything that most black people think of, they see it as a white person. And black people just like something I heard, it was very important, that black people are more religious than any other group of people that they got their conventional religion from. So if they don't feel like God looks like them, well, how do you think they feel about themselves? So in saying that, when we look at the way that we spin and we look at these children are a direct reflection of what we did or did not do. That was the only reason why I started back rapping. I had went and opened a multimedia company and become successful. And it was funny, this young black man on Twitter was the reason why I came back and started recording, and I did the God Box. He literally said, David Banner, I see that you're doing well, you're doing commercials and you're doing movies. He said, what if I need your music? What if I need you? So the thing is, one of the reasons why these kids are malfunctioning, and as a matter of fact, I seen it here when I came up here for Mike Brown. The thing that the kids were asking is, where are the grown-ups? Like, all of the grown-ups are leaving after CNN leaves and the sun goes down. Now, there are exceptions to the rule, but I mean in general. We have left our kids in front of video games, television, and radio, and then sit back and point fingers at them and ask why they are malfunctioning.
Wow.
We as grown-ups have to be successful. And the other thing, we are going to have to show them examples of conscious people who are doing the right thing, who are outwardly successful. Most of my heroes and most of the people I look up to, they're broke and lonely. That is one reason why it's so paramount for me to be outwardly successful. And me and Mike was talking about this backstage. Sometimes we have to wear a chain. Sometimes, even though I despise them, sometimes I gotta wear a few pair of J's. And on my song, to be clear, I said I'm trying to stop wearing Jordan clothes. I hadn't got over it yet. I'm working on it. But let me tell y'all about these children. And it was funny when you were talking about trends, because with me doing the God Box lecture series, and just so y'all know, one of the reasons why I haven't been to the bigger towns, and I haven't been to Atlanta, because I'm going to the places where the movement started. I'm going to Monroe, I'm going to Jackson, I'm going to the places where nobody ever comes back to. So the thing that I'm seeing is it's filled with children. These children are a blank sheet of paper, and they're waiting for somebody to draw. But most of these men are scared of the children. Right. They're scared to walk on the block. I had a kid come up to me and say, David Banner, why are you here? I said, because I am you. And he looked up at me and said, I fuck with you. I was like, thank you, sir. But what I want to say is this about these children. I promise you all, because we are out there. These children are ready. They're just waiting to see some success. I'm telling y'all, a lot of these kids don't want to sell dope, but they see literally what you get when you sell some dope. And I asked the teacher one time, I said, if you had an opportunity, would you work at McDonald's and sell dope? The teacher said, work at McDonald's. I said, that's why these kids don't listen to you. You a fucking liar. Because my name is David Banner. I might not sell crack, because I know crack is wrong. It was engineered for us, but you'd probably be able to get you some pills or something if I was in a bad situation. So we have to be real, because if we don't, these children won't listen. A lot of these kids, my homeboy Cobb, who drove up here from Mississippi, he said that. He said, David Banner, I feel you in theory when you say these kids shouldn't take these deals. They should wait. But if you got somebody and you know your music is worth $1 million, but you've been in the hood all your life and your mama on Section 8, she can't do nothing, they give you $50,000. It's sort of hard to listen to David Banner unless David Banner has a record company that can take care and subsidize more than that $50,000. So in me saying that, we have to, like when I say most black people don't like being black, that is the truth. Because I see the way that you wear your hair. I see the way that you treat each other. So unless we start talking about the harsh realities of what these children are dealing with, then we can't blame them for being who they are, because they are a direct reflection of your age.
I done been every religion. I done been everything a Negro. I've been Christian. I've been Muslim. I've been Hebrew for 3 weeks. 20 diet rules. When and I'm a respecter of it all, because it all, as John Henry Clark would say, is a carbon copy of African spirituality. A group of people from Western Asia ran into Egypt, and they didn't have a damn thing. They didn't have a culture, they didn't have a language, they didn't have a proper understanding of morality, and when they left Egypt, they had 10 Commandments, they had their own book, and that 10 Commandments comes from a group of affirmations. It's not thou shalt not covenant, it's I will not and I have not. It wasn't thou shalt not kill, it was I have not murdered. Your spirituality started from a place of positivity. Your spirituality, if someone did something wrong in a village, put them in the middle of the village and told them how good they were. It didn't say, how could you have killed your brother, Cain and Abel? No. It says, I remember when you fed your brother, clothed your brother. It redeemed you. Your spirituality predates every Abrahamic book that you worship today. I don't have a problem with you going to church or mosque or synagogue. I don't have a problem with you liking any Bad Boy song, but you better know the sample come from the Isley Brothers. You had better know. You had better know. And like I told Tavis Smile on his show, when he assumed me a Christian, and I'm unapologetically none of them. I still greet my brothers who Hebrew with shalom. I still greet my brothers who Muslim with assalamu alaikum. I still say in Jesus' name after I say the ancestors when I pray, if that's what makes you comfortable. But I need you to know, that, like I told Tabby, when he said, well, what are you then? I'm whatever an African was the day before, Muslim or Christian, set foot in that country and set foot in that continent. That's it. That don't mean I don't like them. That don't mean I don't respect them. Because where I'm finna go next is gonna be a hard pivot. If your religion, if your church is not doing for you what Elijah Muhammad did for his people, then you are at the wrong church. Well, Michael, what do you mean? What I mean is, if you're at a mega church and your church got a gold dome, and like Old National in Atlanta, it's in the gutter and the trenches like Creflo Dollar's church is, that ain't the church to go to. Because church members don't own the stores, church members don't own the barbershops, and if you taking, we put in $380 million every Monday. Every Monday, you put almost $400 million in non-black banks because your church bank's non-black. Every Monday, your church has the ability to fund 2 business programs. They have the ability to fund a business proposal. Has your preacher ever said, we're going to do business training at your church? Has your preacher ever said, we're going to do Powernomics or we're going to focus on economics only? If your church is not doing that, you're at the wrong place. Stop tithing. Because you can tithe with your time. You can tithe with your mind. Jesus don't need money. The Lord don't need your money. The Lord needs your spirituality for your people. And I'm going to give you this. Like John Henry Clark said, all churches and synagogues and mosques and religions are nothing but male-dominated murder cults. I am from a maternal culture. Every black person I know love his mom. Every I know love his grandma, love his auntie. Why am I going to worship a God that's not reflective of her? If your God don't include a black woman, I ain't got no time for your God. I ain't got no time for your God. If you ain't never had a female pope, nigga, I don't need it. If you ain't got a female preacher that as equally as powerful as the one, we saw what the Nation of Islam has a whole series of female ministers. If you don't have that, why do you keep wasting your time with the white boy hanging off the cross? Why do you keep wasting your time kneeling on the floor? Why do you waste your time arguing over who the real Israelites is? If in your community, your woman is worshipped, black people love their women, they love their mama, they love their daughters, and your religion doesn't reflect it. So as for me and my people, I don't have nothing to do with no God who need money. I don't have nothing to do with no God. Don't acknowledge the black woman as God. And if you would follow me on IG, you see I say that. God is a black woman. You know why? Because when I suckled and needed milk, there she was. When I needed to be educated, there she was. And when I laid my grandmother in the ground, I truly knew that I had lost the greatest asset that the Spirit ever gave me. So if your spirit does not honor your wife, does not honor your mother, leave that church tomorrow. If your church does not have a real economic plan. See, my white friends, Dave Ramsey comes to their church. Dave Ramsey tells them how to fix their credit. If your church is not bringing in Claude Anderson, I can't go to your church. And I challenge you guys to go to mega churches. Challenge them to do this. Challenge them to say, we're going to give 2 business scholarships to our members in a year. We're going to spend the next year training you to repair your credit, how to write a business proposal. If that church does not underwrite through a loan or through influence of a black bank to give you a loan, leave that bastard where he stands, because he ain't for you. He's only there to keep you in line for the white church. And that's my theory. You don't have to ever step foot in church to be spiritual. You don't have to ever give money to a church to be spiritual. But if you ain't honoring your woman, nigga, you ain't spiritual. If you ain't using your money to circulate in your own community for a month, you not spiritual. And if you just need Jesus, if you just need the white boy hanging off the cross, at least tell him to give him a tan.
What I'm saying to you is that I don't want you to think because I might differ on something from them, they got a whole variety of experiences that are totally different from mine. And so in that regard, they'll be more important than I am, and you should listen to their perspective. So think of all of our perspectives tonight collectively and realize that we are a team. These are my friends right here. This is my teammate. And we play as a team. That's what and tonight I'm going to stress these things for you. And when I started answering the question that was asked of me, what is Powernomics? Let me tell you straight up front. Powernomics is a term that I created. Why did I create it? Because you see, to move things and to move people outside, you must have power. You must have enough power to be able to move things in spite of resistance. If you got enough power, you can move a mountain. So I said, if I take power, and that's what my people need, we need power. What else do we need? The next thing I thought about was economics. Economics is a Greek word which means getting one house in order. And so what I did, I took the word economics and I cut echo off and took the power and stuck the nomics to it and came up with the concept of Powernomics, saying black people got to have enough wealth and power to get their house in order. That's what Powernomics means. Powernomics means coming together and learning how to pool your resources, pool your body, everything you got, pool it together and start playing as a team. And I want you to get some understanding of what the social construct is in this country and why you're losing. They did an excellent job of telling you what an underclass was. I want to show you that it's locked and built into our society. And I want to do what I want to do this morning, and the first part is pull the sheet off of racism, racial politics in this country. I want to pull their pants down so you can see their drawers. So this is what they've done to you up to this point. But I want you to understand these things because that's the problem we got. We have the feeling. We know something is wrong. We know something is wrong. And we need to try to correct it. Now, contrary to what you heard, I don't know whether it came out of a black mouth or a white mouth. Anybody's been telling you that black folk are progressing in America is lying to you. In proportional comparative terms, you are exactly where you were in 1860 in the eve of Civil War. You have not moved not one iota. You're exactly where you were. And you're there because of what they now call traumatic post-slavery syndrome, which is about a $100 word that doesn't mean anything to black folk. You need to tell what does that mean when somebody gives that long drawn out word. All it means, people, just like white supremacy, all it means that you haven't changed a damn thing. You see, all the things that were put in place by slavery remains unchanged. What do I mean about that? What we should have been asking, what was the purpose of slavery? Slavery didn't happen to you all by accident. It was intentionally inflicted on you. The first thing you did when you got a chance in coming out of slavery and coming out of the civil rights movement, you said, what was the point and the purpose of slavery? Forget about social integration, civil rights. What was the purpose of slavery? And that's the first thing you should have got about business doing. The purpose of slavery was to systematically, socially engineer and maldistribute almost 100% of all this nation's wealth, power, resource, privileges, controls of all levels of government into the hands of the dominant white society. That's what the purpose of it. It's a particular time when they put into, you don't own and control anything of importance. What makes your opportunities and your chances of surviving in society is what you own and control. We are not only an underclass, we are an obsolete, abandoned underclass of people. We are an obsolete labor class. And we've been set up to possibly exterminate off the face of the earth. You see, why do I mean that? Because you see, there's a think system that was put in place during let's say, between World War I and World War II. And this guy named Daniel Goldhagen wrote about it. It's called Hitler's Willing Execution. He says, anytime an outgroup, a group of people that are hated and despised, thank you, sir. That anytime a group of people that are hated and despised or abandoned and critical by their own leadership, as we have. See, you don't have the black leaders in America based on its significance. And you're being criticized and downgraded and degraded every day by the media and the general society. That's why you got these shootings. When blacks are off the street talking about Black Lives Matter, you're being set up. And Daniel Goldhagen, who was a Jewish guy, he did a big comprehensive analytical document called Hitler's Willing Executions. And he shows, he says, in Hitler's time, once you pick a group of people and you criticize them and they have no leadership, then you can exterminate them. So what Hitler did set up was called the final solution. And the only people he excluded at that particular time was he saved to the last were the Jewish entertainers. And he said that you got to figure out some way to have entertainers and athletes to make sure you keep people's attention malfocused over what's called misdirection. That's why we had Jesse Owens and all of the Joe Louis fight in Germany during Hitler's time. That kept people sidetracked, trying to get ready to start exterminating the Jews. You see, when you start putting people in the concentration camps and gas chambers and electrocuting them and shooting them in the head and burying them, you can't, they want to hide the muffles. They muffled the sound so people couldn't hear it. So they had the Jewish, that were musicians that stayed in all these camps in Dachau, the rest of them. They played music while the people were, so they could not hear the screams and yells of the women and the babies being burned and cooked. And see, right now, you better watch your TV sets. Watch out for what's happening. And all of a sudden, the whole focus leaves black folk. Then you got problems. And that's what the whole thing, when I tell you about, when I start talking about the whole thing about benign, neglected political correctness, which means you are not being recognized. That's why nobody mentions you. That's why you go through all these political campaigns and nobody mentions the word black. We're going to talk about that in my presentation today. You see, we're going to go back and say, now, what's the problem in America? The problem is that in 1860, as I said, when you came out of slavery, at that time, everything had been maldistributed. So you got nothing. You had about 280,000 black folk who were free or quasi-free at that time. The other almost 5 million were slaves. But that 280,000 blacks had successfully acquired the thing that was very important at that point in time. They had acquired what? 1/2 of 1% of this nation's wealth. 1/2 of 1% of this nation's wealth was acquired by 280,000 blacks. The others were enslaved. Now, here you are, 150 years later, and guess what? Black folk in America still own 1/2 of 1% of the nation's wealth. You have not moved 1 iota in 150 years. Now, what does that mean in terms of being able to protect yourselves and develop businesses and develop a power base, political, and outshine the political psychology in this country that says black folk are useless, worthless people? Here's what it is, that for every black person in America, that white people have 3,500 times more money and wealth than black folk have. I'm gonna say it to you again. For black people in America, that the average white person has 3,500 times more wealth than the average black person. That means in more specific terms, that right now I got about 3 to 4 white men in America that got more wealth than all 44 million black folk put together. You haven't got a snowball's chance in hell of being able to compete. You cannot compete with 1/2 of 1% of anything that decides and makes decisions for you. So for you who want to go back and try to join the feminist movement with white women, are the ones who co-own, co-control, co-influence, and inherited 100% of everything the white man had. You go join them. Every dollar she got 2 cents to see how you come out. And see, black folk are an endangered species because you don't own and control anything of significance. And we're going to talk about it at the end when I start talking about solutions, how you're going to start shifting this wealth and resources around and start to empower yourself.
What? Crooked officer. I mean, 6 feet deep. Mind playing tricks. I mean, what other songs I got in there? We did one about abortion. I mean, name a Ghetto Boy song that isn't socially conscious.